Well, all right, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, I guess, depending on where you are. Thanks for joining us on today's webinar. My name is Dustin. I am the Director of Sales here at Payment Evolution, Director of Sales and CS. But we're going to be talking today a little bit more about value-based pricing. Well, we'll talk a little bit more organically about it with some of the questions that we have coming through. We'll get started in just a little moment. It's about 2 o'clock here Eastern Time. We should be getting started, but we see people trickling in quite a bit. Let us know in the chat where you're joining us from. So we're happy to see everybody join in, and we'll get started in about a minute or so. Hello, Mr. Sam from Toronto. Thanks for joining us. Oh yes, Kawartha Lake, Sudbury. There we go. Sunshine Coast, BC. Thank you very much. Okay, also from Toronto. We got a lot of Torontonians here today. That's awesome to hear. All right, so shall we get started? We have a little bit of time here, and I want to make sure that we all get a chance to kind of get through the entire information. I want this to be as interactive as it possibly can. I know that we're not providing maybe any CPD credits today. In the past, we have provided for our CPB and our CPA members. We've been able to provide some CPD credits, but today we won't be able to do that. But besides that, we're trying to provide some really great information based on value-based pricing. So kind of value-based pricing is kind of an interesting scenario. Sorry, let me make sure we can change the slide over here. There we go. That's a picture of me, Dustin, like I said. And today we're going to be talking about an array of things, but we're going to talk about specifically transition strategies, learning how to shift from a per payroll, let's say, for example, cost to a value-based pricing cost with payroll. We're going to try to communicate some value here and discover ways to showcase the full value of payroll services. And we want to give you some actionable steps on getting practical steps to implement your tiered services. So funny, in this actual webinar, I don't have any slides specifically on the tiered service examples. We have some examples, of course, that we're going to give to you to give you guys some concrete information. But I also I've done some digging and some sleuthing around some clients that have used and how they price their payroll, and I'm going to actually give you some real live examples here as well, not just in our webinar here, but afterwards, because I know for sure people are going to say, well, how do you price it? Can you give us an idea? And then when we get into the nitty gritty, people are going to ask us quite a bit. So anyways, long story short is this is what we're going to talk about today here on this workshop. Thanks for everyone joining us from wherever you are, as far as Sunshine Coast, BC, or as close as Toronto or Leamington and Sudbury here in Ontario. Thanks everybody for joining us. So let's dive right in. Let's talk a little bit more about understanding value-based pricing. So, you know what? There's something that's, I think, a bit of a kind of I'm going to call it a bit of a silly mistake that the general public really makes when it comes about value-based billing, value-based pricing, and billing per hour. I think a lot of times people get things mixed up. Value-based billing is essentially being able to provide a lot of services, coupled with the time that it takes for you to actually do something. And also it takes in consideration future results. And it also takes in consideration, let's say, any potential, difficulties that you might see. Putting all those things into a nice, tied up little package with a nice little bow on it, allowing you to get to a great price for you and your clients. So value-based pricing essentially is kind of a bit of a hybrid where we are able to provide, this value-based billing, but maybe someone doesn't want something that you provide. Maybe they don't want you to manage the service, for example, but they're asking you to recommend a solution and maybe other services that you might be able to provide that are included into that service. But they're taking things out essentially. And that's really called value-based pricing. So many times it's used interchangeably. I'm going to use it as we've written here in the content, but I want to make sure that you guys are aware of that change or what's kind of understood out there. So be aware for those who are very, very focused or know what value-based pricing is or have a thought of what it means. Again, value-based pricing is a bit of a hybrid model where you're taking out things for a client, but we really want to focus on value-based billing. But let's talk about this right now on the screen. Value-based pricing means your price for the value of the outcomes, not the hours or tasks. And why it really works is because it aligns your pricing with the client's perceived value. It also differentiates your services in a competitive market. 90% of employees feel that timely and accurate payroll is crucial for their job satisfaction. Okay, this is a no-brainer, everybody. For all of our accounting professionals or people who are on our website on our webinar here today, many times we deal with our direct client who have staff that we need to pay them, and they're doing payroll to help pay their staff. If that staff member doesn't get paid on time, I think it's fair to say that you're going to get a call from your client saying, hey, what happened? My guys are not paid today. Or my people have not been paid today. And, you could almost have, a Nicaraguan revolt, on your hands if you're not paying people on time. Right? We have mortgages to pay. We have families to support. We have all these things. Not all of us, live in a very comfortable setting. Maybe we all live a little hand to mouth with our pay, but we want to make sure that we are providing the utmost help for our clients' staff, who is ultimately the ones that are really, really affected by getting paid on time. I think it's safe to say as well that if your employees are happy and you take care of your employees, many times you're going to take care of your customers, the people of your work, their peers. It kind of trickles down or trickles up into a really friendly environment when everybody is happy. But 90% of these employees feel that timely and accurate payroll is crucial for their job satisfaction. Even if we miss it one time, it's also kind of like we're trying to play catch up and say I'm sorry. And being in a position of not strength is not necessarily ideal. So why traditional payroll pricing falls short is pretty actually it's pretty interesting. From research that we did a little while ago, we found out that when you take all things considered, meaning your time, the costs of a service that you provide, maybe an error of some type, mailing a check out, bouncing a check. So not bouncing a check. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is that when we have a check be mailed out to an individual, and maybe they don't cash that check, or something happens fraudulently, potentially with a check, and then you got to help out and correct some aspects of the pay for that employee. A payroll error can cost businesses, on average, about $291 per incident. This is crazy. When you think about it, this is absolutely crazy. Because right now, there's a lot of people out there that don't realize that this is the average cost for some type of weird error. People think it's like, oh, I just didn't send the uh, the e-transfer, and it's just a little bit of time. It's like there are a lot of things that taken into consideration here, including a lot of archaic workflows, including things like checks. But some of the challenges here that we find is that it really undervalues expertise, right? So it focuses on quantity and not quality. The revenue limitations are kind of important here too. Income is tied to the payroll frequency typically, why traditional payroll falls short. How many of you guys, how many of you guys have clients that maybe you pay them on a monthly basis, and because it's a monthly basis, many times you charge them a lot less than what you would typically charge a person whose frequency is weekly, right? So uh, payroll's hard. Like just because you have payroll, you have accounting acumen doesn't mean that you have payroll acumen. This is the same thing for your clients. I need you guys to be aware that just because you have, maybe a good understanding of your trade to a customer doesn't mean that you have um, really great. I'm going to call it like payroll acumen. So it's important to be aware of this. Some growth constraints are important. Sometimes it's difficult to scale your business when we think about how we've typically billed for payroll in the past, and we want to be able to provide you guys all a new perspective to move to more of a value-based pricing to unlock the growth of your firm, or the growth of your practice, or the possibility of providing more revenue to your company. So payroll as a core service, this is kind of an interesting highlight, which is over half of the Canadian businesses see potential to improve payroll processes. So what does that mean? It means kind of having a bit of a strategic shift to integrate payroll with advisory services to enhance client value. This is for accounting firms, of course, and or bookkeeping firms, as well as position yourself as as a strategic partner and not just a service provider. How many times are you asked a random question about their business, and you're able to provide them some really great insight? Well, it's because you're a strategic advisor, right? You're a strategic connector as well. And it's in understanding when you become that to your clients, you'll be able to provide a lot more value than just the tasks that you perform, whether it be, bookkeeping, or whether it be in this case payroll, or tax prep, or other things. They're really looking for your insight and your value, so you need to be able to articulate it really well. So this is kind of important for a core service for payroll, and you'll see a little bit more as we go through. But since payroll is already core, and you shift, let's say, for example, focus from managing into monetizing it a little bit more effectively, you got to ask the question here: what additional services are you currently offering alongside bookkeeping? So this is a bit of a question. I know that we're not leveraging the chat right now, but this is kind of based on another webinar that we did with the CPB, the Canadian Professional Bookkeepers. And we did a webinar with them, and they mentioned that what additional services that they were offering alongside their bookkeeping was 31% of them say payroll management, right? Uh, the 9% of them said that it was cash flow forecasting. 22% mentioned that it was tax planning and compliance. And 19%, as you can see on the screen, mentioned that it was business advisory services. So I'm going to ask everybody here, can you give me an idea of what other additional services you currently provide alongside your bookkeeping to your clients? I'd love to get a little bit of some action going in the chat, if you don't mind. I see Sabrina laughing over here on the chat. So you can let us know, what are some of the additional services you're currently providing alongside bookkeeping. I'll give you guys like 10 seconds to write something and type something in. Thank you for some already typing in there. We see payroll management, compliance. We got good old Shelly saying all of those. That's fantastic. So yeah, like you guys provide an array of services alongside bookkeeping. But the big one that that a lot of the team, different peoples are doing, are providing payroll management. There's some people, Sabrina, you're also saying Employment Standards Act compliance. Yeah, there is some real need for the Employment Standard Act compliance. I think it's a lot of people don't realize some of the labor laws that come into consideration, and that ESA info. You're teaching, exactly, Shelley, you're teaching so much to employers that they have no idea, that may have been common, basically common knowledge in the past, that has definitely changed over the last couple of decades. So really great stuff. And believe it or not that we're just trying to plug ourselves here with a little propaganda, but Payment Evolution actually has a tool included into the payroll tool that we have that helps with a lot of this. But you guys can provide it for your clients, and it actually can be a really great help, and could be helpful for you, of course, as well, to generate some more revenue. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So let's start communicating a little bit more about the full value of payroll. I think people forget a couple of things. Number one, we forget that payroll's hard. I think fintech, or apps out in the fintech market, this is everybody. This is Intuit QuickBooks. This is Xero as an accounting software, including FreshBooks and Cashew and all these other accounting softwares, including other apps outside in the fintech market, like Dext or Pluto for payments, or an array of different tools. We have all made it very easy, or we've made it we've created this illusion that business owners are going to be able to really use those solutions so simply and without any fail, and it's almost a foolproof way of using the solution. And the truth is, is that they still need some acumen to be able to run some of that stuff properly, right? So you're going to be the advisors that are going to provide that information for them. And it's the same thing here for payroll. It doesn't matter if you're using, ADP, Ceridian, Payworks, Payment Evolution, WagePoint. It doesn't matter who you're using. You're going to, just because they know how to use one tool doesn't mean they know how to use all of them. So we need to communicate here a little bit better to our clients that payroll is hard, and they don't have the acumen for it. And if they do have the acumen, that's perfect. But it's still, to be done correctly and to be fixing those errors later on is going to it's going to cost a specific amount of money that's going to be helpful for them, and is more for providing some help up front and providing a little bit of compliance and helping them to grow their business without making any mistakes that could be costly, like these CRA fines, those source deduction fines. If you're late or you don't pay them, it could get quite hefty over compounding its interest over some days here after the fine is late, or there's some type of issue. But let's talk here. Payroll impacts employee satisfaction and retention. 83% of Canadian employees feel the need for the self-service portals. So this is important. They need kind of their own ability to access their information. And some benefits to really highlight is some cost savings, which is in regards to automation. And the automation reduces errors and saves time. Not only that, but some efficiencies as well for you, your firm, and the bookkeeping firm and the accounting firm. Streamline operations, improve decision making for you and for your team. Right? This is really, really important. So, if you have a really great tool and you're articulating the value of not only payroll, but any other tool, it's really going to help you shift that conversation from a compliance conversation of you need to do this because or else we don't want to, get that fine, or worry about XYZ not being compliant, and actually shift it more to a strategic business insight, and really give them the ability of seeing a perspective of running their business and succeeding in their business, not through fear, but through proactiveness, efficiency, and proper planning, which is something that you guys are great at, especially when you guys have insights for all the numbers, to the business. So the payroll client's perspective, there's some challenges, right? Number one is the time consumption. Manual corrections are time consuming, of course, and compliance worries, of course, are always there. The fear of penalties and due to mistakes, and sometimes there's trust issues, right? So the errors can erode employee trust, and whether it be the wrong commission paid, or maybe something not paid on time, or an expense reimbursement not happening that gets paid through the payroll. Maybe it's crazy when you think about it. There's so many trust things, so many issues that can create some trust issues between clients and the employers, and then in turn, it be a predicament that you have to deal with as an accounting professional. And nearly 30% of small businesses in Canada find payroll to be their most significant accounting challenge. I actually find this funny. Again, just because you have accounting acumen doesn't mean that you have payroll acumen, and vice versa, right? We have a lot of CPAs that think that they know a lot of information, which they do, but they may not have the same level of depth of knowledge as a PCP who's helping you run your payroll, right? Who's on your team, or a bookkeeper who has been doing it for the experience for a very long time. Not to say that people have strengths or weaknesses, or there's one profession better than the other. Not at all. It's just that we're focused on different things. And so it's really important that we realize that businesses look at payroll as an accounting issue, and it's more accounting adjacent, if anything. But it is important to know all that information. It is important to have it connected properly to your accounting software and kind of getting the insights that you need to help your client. But it's a big deal for a third of the businesses out there in Canada. And we're going to explore how one firm overcame these challenges. So we're going to make the shift here to value-based pricing here. So how to transition? It's important, number one, that we bundle services, combine payroll with advisory offerings if possible. Offer guarantees. I know a lot of us don't like to offer guarantees, but I think it's important that you provide compliance assurances, which is going to be easier for you to do if you do things right and you use the right tools, and the clients are advising, that you're advising are abiding by some of the workflows that you're providing and you're helping them with and setting. This becomes a lot easier. and then to be able to give guarantees specifically, and then you'll also be able to automate some of these processes to hopefully in turn increase the efficiency through your technology that you're using. We all have if you're a bookkeeper or an accounting professional or sorry, an accounting a CPA, you're an accounting professional, you're going to have a tech stack that you use. And I'm going to be very honest with everybody here. We need to do a little bit of an accountability, kind of a little bit of an audit as to if that tech stack really currently is relevant, for you. I know many of you will say, "Oh, of course, we do some vetting on it, and it's not an issue." Fantastic, but the truth is this: many of us are still using, I went into a firm the other day. They were using, I think it was, a version of Bedford, before before Sage took it over, Simply, before they became Simply, and then now obviously they got that Sage. Like it is crazy that is a thing that happened. So make sure you're auditing your tool to help automate your processes and audit your tech stack. But clients invest in outcomes ultimately that drive their businesses forward. And that's really what they want. They want a forward-thinking individual that's going to be able to help them. And the people, the professionals that have that type of mentality, are typically getting you to that value-based pricing, win with a client. It's something that, the mentality really helps you shift from just billing, on a time basis or per action to something more, a little bit more helpful for your firm in the value-based world. And helping clients embracing value-based pricing is going to be really important here. You need to be able to educate to your clients and explain the benefits of value-based pricing for them. Hey, you're going to get a lot more value. You're going to get X, Y, Z, and elemental P and QRS and TUV when it comes to the services that we provide over any other service provider that you've probably been with. And we can guarantee it be done properly. We have dedicated people doing it for you, and you're going to need to educate those guys. Your clients are going to need to know, um, what you're able to provide, but you need to articulate it in a way that it makes sense for them. Remember, a lot of business owners are fantastic at their trade. They're just not necessarily super versed on the solutions or the work that you're going to provide for them. So you need to be able to articulate it to them really well. You need to educate them to a degree, like I said, and you need to articulate it to them. You need to demonstrate success. There's no better way than showing your client that they're paying good money and it's worth it all when you're seeing some really great success, meaning share success stories from the past, from how you've helped your clients out and how you've driven their business to grow from X to Z, and use case studies. This is important for you to do. Many times because we're so reactive to clients that are that are coming to us, that are inquiring about our services, many times we don't realize that we can leverage testimonials or success stories in the past. Some really small firms leverage this so that they can continuously get referrals and get more business, because when they're able to articulate that on their website, it's going to be really helpful. Or when you talk to a person or you talk to the principal or whoever you're talking to acquire that new client, they really have a clear understanding that there's been success in the past, and this is really helpful, and it really gives them confidence. And then lastly, be empathetic. Address the pain points directly. If a person's saying, "Hey, I've been burned in the past," I'm here to tell you, everybody, it's okay that they've been burned in the past. This is how we're gonna pay for. They're gonna move forward with a better option that is gonna be again providing a little bit more guarantees and helping them out to be able to get the work done. The work done that they're expecting things to get done. They're coming to you for a reason. Address their pain points. I'm not saying be a therapist, of course, but I am saying make sure that you're addressing the pain points of the client, because if they're bringing it up, it's because they want to know that it can be overcome and dealt with, and you guys are going to be the right choice for them. So, which of the following is most important to your clients? Funny enough, again, from another webinar that we did with the CPB, we talked a little bit more about the choices that they had, and 46% of them came back with selecting cost savings. I think it's interesting. 26% compliance assurance, and 19% said expert advice. So which of the following is more important to your clients? I'm going to ask you guys all here. Let's leverage the chat one more time. I'm going to ask all of our beautiful people that had the chance to type in before kind of what were some of the other services that they provided. I want you to please here, which of the following is most important to your clients? Out of those three, I'd love to hear what people are saying. I'm looking at the chat. Cost savings, of course, right? Like a lot that they don't have to do it. Shelly, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Compliance, Brenda, that's awesome to hear. So funny enough, your clients are going to need all of this. Okay, number one, they need your expert advice, even though they say they don't need it, or they're more focused on cost savings. They also are all going to need compliance assurance, of course, and advice, as Andrew is mentioning here. And they are all going to need a decently priced item or decently priced service for them. They don't want to feel like they're getting what's it called, gypped by any means, but they definitely want to feel that they're getting a decent price. And as you can imagine, many of them are, probably have paid quite a lot either from a different provider or from the mistakes that they've made in the past, which is probably why they're looking at the world in a very cost-effective manner, right? We have a lot of people here. Um, I think when I say a lot of people here, a lot of people in our webinar here today that are accounting professionals, many of us, because we deal with numbers and because our clients are cost conscious, many times we become cost conscious. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that you're being very empathetic to your client. But I urge you to remember that you are a for-profit business. Many bookkeepers and accountants are in there, they're running their own business as well, and they're here to succeed and support their families. And it needs to be a win-win scenario for your clients and yourself. And so, yes, I understand the importance of cost savings or being cost conscious as a client. But I think this is a great point, Shelley. You mentioned I feel like I'm really undercharging for the amount of questions and work that you end up doing with regards to payroll. And I don't know if we've met personally, Shelley, but I'll probably tell you that the average bookkeeper and accountant is for sure undercharging for their service. I, it's hand over fist, unfortunately. But there's a great way for us to start putting ourselves in a position to charge for more, right? I think that you're dealing with different types of clients, and some clients are going to be like what we call beautiful daisy clients. And then they're really easy to deal with. They're fantastic, and then there's some clients that are like we call them like weed clients, right? They're like weeds in the garden. They're just like they're always taking up the resources, and they're not necessarily quite great to deal with, and they're not quite great looking either. So it's important that we talk about those different types of clients as well. There's a lot of mixes of them, as kind of Shelley is mentioning in the chat here, but also. If you provide great service for your clients and you give them some great results and successes and wins, nothing speaks better to a client to want to pay more, especially when they're seeing what you say come true in a positive way. And I'm going to actually show you something a little bit later on about the pricing. I think that many of us are actually very much undercharging. Believe it or not, I have an actual slide from a while ago, a long time ago, that actually I'll show you now. Let me just do this really quickly. If I can see if I can find it over here. Yeah, here it is. If I take a look at the payroll truths in the industry, we did some research a little while ago. The in This took in consideration an average. This is a bookkeeper from our client base, our clients that are using us, accounting firms and bookkeeping firms. The average firm with 10 employees on a biweekly frequency in BC, the average is they're charging about $197 a month. That's the average. Of course, some higher and some lower. Okay. So I'm not sure where you are, Shelley, but it gives you an idea of like, for people in Alberta, it's about $168 per month that we're seeing for that same amount. In Ontario, funny enough, it's just a dollar higher than, the BC people, I guess is where the majority of the population is on $198 is on average. And out in Quebec, because good old Quebec, they're there, they're making it happen. Um, and this is per month for a biweekly pay for 10 employees. That's correct. Yeah, Shelley, you got it. And in Quebec, they're saying 152 bucks. So this is an average. Now, this is a little bit dated. This has probably happened maybe about 2 years ago. And if you really think about it, we're going to run the gamut in this webinar. We're going to have people that are going to be well under that, charging way less, um, and other people are charging a lot more. Yeah, so it's a big deal. Like a lot of people don't realize this. So that's the first thing, right? Kind of realizing the truth of the market out in the Canadian market, which is what they're charging. And you know what? As much as Shelley, you're saying, wow, maybe you're charging a certain amount. Like this is a great wake up call for a lot of us to realize that this is a lot more valuable than we think. Right? You got to remember that people like institutional kind of like figureheads that are running payroll here in Canada for a very long time, decades. Like I'm going to say some competitors of ours, uh, uh, Ceridian, ADP, they charge an arm and a leg sometimes, for the service. And hey, if you're running it for them, and even if you like, I'll give you an example. We had a customer say that they were getting charged just shy of about a 350 bucks for like one employee. And we're like, are you using a time tracker? Is it managed? Is it all these things? They're like, no, I'm doing all the work. Why am I charging? Why get charging so much for being charged so much for a service? And they were looking to come on board with us. They came on board with us, of course. But one of the things that was really important for them to see as an accounting professional, the firm said, "Hey, you know what? Like, even if we gave them a, 30% discount to what they were paying right now, we're still making money, in our firm." And I think that's something that you got to think of as a firm. You got to think about the margins that you get from the tools that you use. And, not to do a shameless plug, but Payment Evolution really focuses on that for the firms. We want to provide a lot of great insight. Let's get back into our other, or back to our last slide here, and then we'll get back to talking a little bit more. Louise, I think you had some really great comments here about talking about the plan for cash flow and it's easier to budget. So thank you very much for all that insights. Thank you everybody who's joining us and providing us some really great chat information too. So let's talk about the service tiers and a little bit more step by step, okay? So creating the service tiers for added value is extremely important, as you can imagine. And sometimes you want to do it something very basic. And I'll show you one of a client's as well. So service levels here is basic, essential payroll processing and compliance support. The standard would maybe like include employee self-service and basic advisory for them, just giving you an idea of how you can position this. And also some premium, which is offers some full advisory services and strategic planning. Maybe you want to be able to add in, when it's a premium, add in additional cost or the additional cost of doing the T4, T4As, ROEs, RL1s for those in Quebec, and maybe the ESA information, right? When you think about it, you can provide some really great insight here, especially when you find out that they're maybe letting go of somebody like a staff member that's been around for a while and they got to do it right or else you're going to see a lawsuit come to them, right? You want to help them provide that insight, and you can do it preemptively by a lot of services that we have on Payment Evolution, but you leverage your tech stack to help yourself out. So let's build your service tiers. And what I'm kind of trying to show here is that this is kind of a bit of a detailed breakdown of what each service tier might include, right? So it's important for you to show that to your client and emphasizing the strategic planning and the HR advisory features, in the premium tier. That is, I think, really important. Right, so the basic's going to get the payroll processing, the compliance support. Maybe you're going to do you're not maybe you should be doing the source deduction remittances for them to the CRA, and if they're in Quebec, of course, the MRQ. But the fact that you can provide both is actually, allows you to say, hey, you're compliant all across Canada, and also the standard will include that employee self-service, which is maybe having their own employee portals so that they can see their tax forms and their pay slips and all that type of stuff, which is great for you because you don't have to send anything to them. That can be done automatically. And a lot of that tax planning that we talked about, the ROEs, or sorry, the T4, T4As, RL1s, things of that nature. And again, premium, highlighting that advisory on the HR side and the strategic planning for them. And so what we've done here is giving you an example of some pricing your service tiers. Now, when I took a look at this, and this is a little bit more closer to the inflation-related prices that we see now here in Ontario. We're seeing things like basic at $200 a month, standard at $350 a month, premium 500. And many of you might say things like, many of you might say like, oh, well, that seems like a lot of money. Uh, Listen, if you are providing great service for your clients and you're helping them grow, and you're helping them reach their goals, not only from a payrolls perspective, let's say, for example, but from your, from company growth and bringing in more revenue and how to price themselves a little bit more, then the $500 market is just a mindset away for you. Like if I take a look at, our one of our clients that we had done a webinar not too long ago about. So let me see if I can show you on a slide here. Um, this is what they were charging. This is literally from their website. You know, $100 a month for basic, $200 a month for business, and their VIP was $300 a month. But if you take a look at their VIP, it includes the subscription tool that they're using. So it included Payment Evolution subscription. It included the payroll processing for up to 20 employees, weekly processing on your designated day, generate pay stubs, PD7A summary, generating the records of employment or and file with Service Canada into Service Canada, prepare and file annual T4 slips and T4 summary, and a direct deposit setup. Like, who wouldn't love to be getting charged $300 a month for 20 employees? Are you kidding me? For sure. At the very least, I think that's very, very possible. Now, I have to say, this is probably just post-COVID. We're talking like it was like uh, COVID hit. This was still something that was happening, that was being charged. And the last, I think they've increased the pricing from this in 2022. So 2022 is the last I think I saw this. So we're talking about it maybe a couple years obviously ago, but this is what I'm talking about, the pricing that we talked about here, about the $500 pricing. In regards to their pricing tiers. And someone asked the question, hold on, let me second, let me see that here. You might be lost in translation, but what do you mean by tax planning and strategic planning? Okay, so I can't, I mean, I'm not a CPA nor a CPB, but I'm going to tell you this. We talked a little bit earlier about the ESA, right? The Employee Standards Act, and how employers actually know very little about it. This could be a little bit of the strategic planning that I'm talking about, the HR planning. Depending on how many employees you your client has that employee been around for a very long time. When you're, let's say, for example, you will be terminating them for whatever reason, there might be some due diligence you need to do, and you can leverage obviously yourself, your own knowledge, or an employment lawyer. And an employment lawyer is going to be a lot of money, but there's also tools within there's a tool within Payment Evolution. I don't think anybody else has this tool. It's called an offboarding assistant. We're able to provide some real great knowledge around what you're supposed to be paying to remain compliant. So you're out of the courts, when you're doing, you're really saving time for your for your clients, and saving them probably even legal money, by using AI tools in this way. So we have something, if you ever want a demo of it, you can go talk to our team, of course. We can showcase it a little bit later on. But that's what I mean by the planning. And the tax planning is a different story. I think it's really important that I'll give you an example. There could be a really great value where you provide service, let's say for your clients. I'm sure anybody that here's an idea, and I'm not sure how many of you guys leverage this or even thought of this, but we've seen some larger firms take this in consideration. How many of all of you that are listening here today, uh, do the T4s and T4As for your clients when you do payroll, and then let your clients know, obviously the business owners, that if the employees of your client want to get their taxes done, that you actually can refer somebody or you can do it yourself for them. You guys may not be in that necessarily in that providing that service, but I'm just letting you know there's a great opportunity there for you to be able to provide a lead gen to a CPA that may be doing personal taxes, or you yourself doing them if you're a CPA or if you're doing taxes as well. So it's important. It's important. A lot of people don't think of this. You know why? Because it's intrusive. People think it's intrusive. It's not. We're living in a world where, the government can track your your smartphone. So this is information that you can leverage to help you run your business and grow your business. So why wouldn't you do that? And provide the help to, provide your helpful reach, go further down the chain. So just some ideas. But some real life examples. We're going to talk a little about Maple Grove Cafe. I want you guys to meet Jane, figuratively speaking, owner of Maple Grove Cafe in Toronto. They have 10 employees and they're struggling with manual payroll and compliance issues. And let's take a look at that tier comparison. The basic is $200 a month. It handles payroll processing and compliance and support. And the standard is the 350, and the premium is the 500, like we talked about. So, which tier offers the best value for Jane? I'd love to get maybe some conversation in the chat. Like, which one do you think provides the best value for Jane? Anybody? Bueller on the chat. Thank you for some saying premium, some saying standard. Yeah, I think some of you are kind of really. I think the standard where it talks a little bit more about giving employees self-service and quarterly financial insight. I think that's gonna probably be the better one. This is just an exercise between all of us here, kind of a safe zone here, of course. If you're picking basic for your clients, they're always going to go basic, just for the record. So always go standard or premium, not because you're charging them more, but because you're providing the best value for their money, because you're providing them a great service, because what they need may come with your insights that you're able to provide to the companies that you're helping, right? So standard will be ideal. Ideal. Shelly, no worries about the oops. It's no big deal. I think it's important that we remember that. If we give basic many times, this is the bare bones, right? This is like you need to be able to prioritize your team and your efforts as an organization to service your clients the best that you can. And it's safe to say that if I pay a premium model, if I pay for a Rolex, I better be expecting Rolex service, right? If I'm going to buy, like uh, a cheapy watch, from whatever retailer, like again, I'm not going to expect much considering that it's going to be a low cost. So I want you guys to think about that yourself. It's not about making your clients a number, but it's about saying, hey, and saying, hey, we value you, but we want to set some ground rules and expectations, and this is what you can expect from us. So let's talk about upselling and transitioning clients. It's important that you guys remember that it's always going to be harder for you to start at a lower tier and then try to sell up. Even the best salespeople can't do it as often. So it's better to always start with the best option or bust. And many times, if people want to take away maybe a service or something that's not needed in that tier level, it's okay. That's not a problem. Just make sure you if you take that away, it might mean it's a cheaper service or more cost-effective service. But take it away and don't give in, because sometimes people are going to give in and say, "Oh, can you provide that for me?" I know we said that I wasn't going to use it, but clearly I made a mistake. Like, then we need to go up a tier, right? Like And the only reason is it's because it's fair. You wouldn't do that to your own family, then don't do it. Don't do it to ours. So we're going to help out and kind of set the expectation. But one thing is offer trials, let clients experience higher tier services for a bit. Maybe give them a promo, for the service for a month and or a quarter if it's possible for you to do that. And provide them those that type of experience. Once they get hooked onto that type of experience, you better believe they're going to notice a difference if they go back down. Highlight benefits, showcase higher rates, tiers, and solve sorry, showcase how higher tiers solve specific pain points for your clients. And then use metrics, right? Present the data on time saved, on risk avoided, all that stuff. And then on top of that, transition payroll or payroll transitions into success. Like I think it's important that a firm transition the value-based pricing, payroll pricing, resulting in about 35% revenue growth within 6 months. Now that's a great case. I think easily with some of the strategies that we've kind of talked about here and how you can price yourself better, you can easily give yourself a 20% boost in revenue. When it comes to adding net new clients, especially as the calendar year closes, it's going to be really great for you to be able to provide some really great services. People have had bad experiences in the past. You know that you guys are fantastic at what you do. Make sure that your client engagement letter is fantastic when you do talk to them, and you maybe set your expectations really well for them, and bundle those payroll services with advisory services because you know it's going to help them. Reposition payroll as a strategic service here for you and your firms, please. And a key takeaway here is the shift to value-based pricing leads to increased revenue and client satisfaction. We've been talking about it a little bit. Hopefully, you can see how that actually works and how that is going to be helping you to get to client satisfaction, but it's important. And the role of technology and value-based pricing is kind of important. Again, remember, use a tool that's going to help you automate, reducing errors and saving you time. Make sure you're using a tool that is, giving you real-time reporting. Provides clients with up-to-date insights that they can go into the report after you've run their pay run or you've run some other thing. That last pay run information got sent over to your Xero or QuickBooks, accounting software, and it's all in there. They're allowing you to give you a little bit more insight and kind of up-to-date insight after something is done, and make sure that you have the ability to integrate with, those accounting and HR systems out there that are important. Technology amplifies big time the value that you deliver. So, how comfortable are you with your current payroll pricing per client? Here's what we did again when we did another webinar. It says 32%. I'm not sure about how to price my payroll services. It's a lot of us, right? It's a third of us. 24% of us saying that I charge less than $100 a month per payroll services. 24% were saying that they charge less than $200 per month for payroll services. 11% were saying I don't charge for payroll services. And actually, I'm surprised. I think people are ashamed. I think that number is actually quite higher. I think a lot of people are not charging for payroll services. They're just using it as a retention tool to keep their clients around, and they're not charging for it. Or there's many firms that we hear that they love our pricing because it's so cost effective, but they're not leveraging it and having the client pay properly, and they're just saying, "Oh, I just want to keep their business." Well, payroll, you're really giving yourself a disservice here because you're not realizing that it was a loss leader until it's too late. 3% of them say they charge, 2 to 400%, and then 3% were saying that they charge more than 400%. So there's a lot of room for improvement. So where do you lie in this little, infographic per se of the percentages, and where would you like to be? Make a note, make sure that you're putting yourself in the right mind frame to do that. So your step-by-step guide to value-based pricing. So understand your client's needs, right? What you got to focus on the desired outcomes. Two, quantify your value, highlight compliance, risk reduction, and advisory benefits. And then three, develop flexible models, create scalable pricing that grows with clients. And for the record, just because you have something on your website doesn't mean that you can't provide an a la carte component to that as well that adds more value to a bottom or mid-tier solution. If they're not necessarily going with the top tier, the VIP solution. Like, remember, you have other tools that you can use. Like, the best firms that are pricing themselves in a value billing scenario also have an a la carte model, billing model. They also have a timing, a per hour rate as well on top of some things. Maybe some type of payroll specialist work where they don't understand something's gone missing because maybe you haven't managed everything for them. That payroll special investigation might cost them money. It's important for you to charge them, especially if you're taking time out of your time that it was not intended and everything's been done properly. You should be charging for your clients, and for the service that you provide for your clients. And remember to address the client concerns. Common objections here is like, is it too expensive? Why should I pay more? Well, you got to give a really good reason, right? What's your competitive advantage here to other people, and why do you do what you do? And do you stand behind what you're supposed to be, the service that you're providing? And you should be charging for that. And your responses should be, in regards to highlighting ROI, of course, demonstrating long-term savings and benefits, and empathize with them, of course, understanding their challenges and offer some solutions for them. And again, payroll errors reduce employee trust by 32%. So you should be doing this quite a bit. When you're using empathy to build trust in payroll, remember to run an empathy builder exercise. So I'll give you an example. Ask your clients about their biggest payroll frustrations, and also showcase how accurate payroll management and advisory services can solve their problems. I'll give you a really great empathy builder that I've heard one firm say to their client when I was there. And they said, hey, Mr. Customer, I want you to assume that no payroll solution is available to you. uh, Payment Evolution is not around, WagePoint is not around. It's already now these people did, PDOC. You can't go to PDOC and kind of run a payroll on that. Or actually, you know what? You can tell me. I want you to go run payroll for your 5 employees right now, and I want you to tell me how long it takes you. And they're like, "Don't worry, I'm here. I'll wait. I'll give you some direction if you need it." And they asked their client to go run a payroll for a 5 employee based business. That was like, I think, a consulting firm. And like sometimes these guys were like, oh yeah, I can do it, no problem. I'll make it happen. They made it happen, and guess what happened? By the 5th minute, they're like, I have no idea where to go. I don't know how to do this. I don't know where to begin. And then the accounting professional said, it's okay. Go to the CRA, or go to the Service Canada, go to PDOC or wherever it is, and calculate the payroll. And then they said, okay. So they go do it. And then like, okay, I'm done. I ran it for my payroll. I have it all written down here on a piece of paper. He's like, okay, great. Well, what about the pay stubs that you need to give to your clients? How are you going to facilitate those payments? Are you sure that's accurate and you're not going to make any mistakes? And how are you going to pay the source deduction remittances from that pay run that you just ran? And, they kind of open up their eyes, kind of like, what the heck? This is an empathy builder. How many of us tell our clients something when we should be saying, hey, you know what? I want you to try to do this yourself. And I want you to come back and let me know what your experience was. And then all of a sudden, they understand. They're like, oh, I'll pay $100 a month, no problem. I'll pay $200 a month, no problem. I'll pay $300 a month, no problem, depending on how big these services are, right? Trust builds loyalty, and loyalty leads to long-term revenue. Start talking to your business owner clients as partners, because in that way, you'll be able to get a lot more out of them because it's going to be for their benefit and for your benefit, right? It's a win-win relationship as opposed to just a transactional, here's the business thing. Remember your purpose of why you started. You started to do this because you wanted to help small businesses. Many of us did, and many of us wanted to make obviously very decent money. We wanted to be maybe entrepreneurs. There was every reason why that could possibly be available in the world to any human being. But you need to be clear. You can help anybody. You can get whatever you want as long as you help enough people get what they want too. So it needs to be win-win. It's also very important that you effectively communicate your value, right? Use real examples, share tangible results you've achieved for clients, quantify benefits, showing metrics like the time saved and penalties avoided. Ask impactful questions. What would avoiding a CRA fine mean for your business if that's the case, right? It's important. It's very important. And in scaling your firm with value-based services, it's important that you have some strategies, some growth strategies in place here, which is, tiered offerings, meaning diverse client needs effectively, and those advisory services providing high value insights, and then client retention, building long-term relationships through added value. Okay. Remember to leverage compliance for competitive advantage. In Ontario alone, we saw about 11, just shy of 12,000 ESA violation investigations in the 2022-2023 fiscal year. This is crazy when you think about it. This is a good opportunity for all of you that mentioned that there were some solutions that you provide from the ESA, advisory bits that you talked about earlier on. Compliance services can be a part of your premium tier. Right. Here's a key takeaway. Keep clients compliant at significant value and reduces their risk. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Here's some actionable steps for implementing that value-based payroll pricing. Evaluate current pricing. Identify areas for improvement, everybody. Develop service tiers, align offerings with client needs. And then again, train your team. This is not just a you thing that you're going to just think it's going to happen overnight because you decided in your mind and you made a resolute, effort to, go to value billing, but you got to train your team. What's the empathy builder you can do? Do they have the ability to articulate well to a client what the value is? What's your value proposition? Can you ensure consistent communication of that value between you, your team, and to your clients or anybody who's even referring your service? It's important. You should be able to train your team and the associated people. And here's some summary and next steps, of course. Shift from tasks to value, everybody. Focus on the outcomes, not the hours. Right? Sure, it's good to know how many hours it typically takes. That's fine, but focus on the outcomes because it's going to give you the greater return. It's going to give your client the greater satisfaction and the trust that you need so you can charge for the services you need to charge for. Enhance client relationships, offer strategic insights for them. Implement and grow. Use value-based pricing to scale your firm. There's this little book that this accounting software. Well, there were an invoicing tool before, but an accounting software now. They're called FreshBooks. That called I think it was Breaking the Time Barrier is the name of it. You should be able to get a PDF copy online. You can find it online. I'm sure you can do it. And if you can't find it, you really want it, send me an email at dustin@paymentevolution.com and I will send it to you directly. Okay. It is a great little book. It took me 45 minutes to read and really helped me in my consulting days when I was trying to do more value-based billing and value-based pricing services to my clients. It's a great little resource that maybe it's like a story form, like a parable form, and it really gives some great insight. And I'm happy to share it with you again. It's called Breaking the Time Barrier. It's by Mike McDermott and Donald Cowper. It's the former CEO of FreshBooks and one of his friends. And again, Breaking the Time Barrier. Again, my email is dustin@paymentevolution.com. If you don't find it, I'll send it to you. I have no problem to send it to you. Okay. I'd love to maybe ask some questions here, answer some questions here and discuss a little bit more. We literally have maybe 3-4 minutes here, and I'd love to maybe help you out if there's anything that comes to mind. I know that a lot of the things that I mentioned was a bit not redundant necessarily, but I repeated things for a reason. I repeated it because many times, if we hear it one time, it doesn't stick. If we hear it 2 times, it doesn't stick. Maybe we hear it 3 times, it'll stick. So I'm trying my best here to be able to help you guys out with answering any questions that you might have. There we go. There it is. Business tips from the FreshBooks co-founder. That you got it, Shelly. Thank you very much. And BFE, who I don't know your direct name, but thank you very much for putting it in the chat. It's a great resource. They actually have a subsequent book that is called Cracking the Client Code. That's equally as good. Recommend it. Again, super easy read. I'm a slow reader. It took me 45 minutes to read, max. So I can imagine for anybody who's an avid reader, it could be a really great resource and really quick a really quick turnaround. All right, so that's the end of our webinar. Happy to talk to you more. Our team here at Payment Evolution is also ready to talk to you more about how we can provide a service that is going to provide the greatest amount of margins for you as a firm. I want to make sure that you understand it's no obligation about coming on board, but we do a lot of demos, and it might be smart for us to do a webinar on our solution as a whole, so you guys can take a look at it and have it recorded for future reference as well, or just call in. It's time where we're ready to help you to have an opportunity to see a tool that can be really helpful for a part of your business as an accounting professional that sometimes is taken for granted. I don't want to see people be like, "Oh, I don't do payroll because it's a cadence thing, and I get stuck to a specific service." Okay, great. Based on what we talked about, you can make an extra $33,000 in revenue easily by having, let's say, for example, 20 clients that you charge at 275 bucks, a month for the service, or 300 bucks a month for the service. And it takes 5 minutes to run payroll on our platform. So, hey, say you got, that's what, that's 100 and that's just shy of 2 hours worth of service. Like you can do it for, yeah, 100 minutes. Yeah, something like that. Like, takes it's not crazy. You guys can definitely do it. You can make an extra 33 grand easy. That's the power of being in being your own boss, being an entrepreneur, and knowing what you're doing. So we'd love to help you out. So this is our time. It is 3 o'clock. I apologize for the rambling. I'm super passionate about this topic. I really love how everybody joined and was kind of talking in the chat. If you have any questions, let us know, of course. But again, my name is Dustin. I am the sales and CS director here at Payment Evolution, and we hope that you guys found this time valuable with us. Again, the slides and recording will be available for everybody. Hopefully, you guys find it helpful, and I'm happy to dive into it. I'm also on the phones as well, helping a lot of our team and helping our accounting firms. I'm a very passionate working with accounting professionals. So thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate it, and hasta luego. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.